Good afternoon. I'm Marlon Weems, and I am here with my co-host, Egberto Willies of Egberto Off the Record, and it is time for the reality check. This is Egberto. This is new, and I have to tell you, you're on Central Time.
Yes,
I'm
I am.
on Eastern Time, so it's lunchtime, man. And I am rethinking the wisdom of a noon show without I'm just gonna go ahead and cop to it. I got some sausage sitting over here right next to me, man, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna try to keep it professional, but but Jimmy
You gonna eat your
Dean,
sausage?
Jimmy Dean may be joining the chat, okay? Oh man, it's so great. We have been kicking around the idea of doing a show together, and we finally made it, you know?
I think it's important, and first of all, thank you for coming up with the. Well, I think
Well,
the
we
idea
kind
was
of did.
both of us.
Yeah, we did it together because the last two or three times that we've been on, people in the chat room are, they're making comments, and folks are saying, hey, I really wish, I wish you guys would do something together, right?
Yes, they sure did, and I even get that in DM sometimes. It's like you and Marlon should do a program together, and we came up with it. You came up with a time and name, and I said, let's go for it, my brother. Let's go for it,
Man,
because again,
you know what?
I really
All
enjoy
it
speaking
takes
with you.
is a little bit of time and a glass of whiskey. I can come up with 10 names for shows, man.
I like the way you said that, and a glass of whiskey.
Well, look, I'm just keeping it real, man. This stuff is stressful. There's a lot of shit going on that is just ridiculous. And so, what I always like to do, and one of the reasons that I really enjoy having the setup that we've got, is that we can look at clips and we can look at, stuff like this.
Right.
Okay. So, for example, I just saw this. This is the cover of The Economist. I mean, who isn't trolling Trump right now? Because the Iranians are just giving him hell. But this is the cover of The Economist magazine. Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. And for folks that are just listening and not seeing this, it's the cover of The Economist, Economist magazine. Trump is in the foreground, sort of blurred out. And as usual, mouth wide open. If I had to speculate, I'd say he's probably lying about something.
Yeah.
And in the background, they've got China's President Xi, just sort of looking like, you fool.
And it is so that is so prescient, right?
Yes, it is.
And it is so true that look. But let me tell you about my thoughts here, Marlon, and I'm glad we're talking about that. You started here. One man, we know he has a whole bunch of puppeteers behind him,
right?
But one man we have allowed to do so much damage, not to the United States. And the problem is, if you go ahead and look at CNN and MSNBC, MS Now, and all the others, you would have a tendency to believe that, well, it's just Trump doing a bad thing again, and it's kind of having an effect on gasoline prices, and it is so much deeper than that. I've stopped I've added Al Jazeera to my repertoire, and I have a list of newspapers that I'm about to add to my feed, my RSS feed for research. But what I'm saying, Marlon, is the hurt that Trump and indirectly we are putting on the rest of the world is so profound, and it's causing so much pain. Not to speak about deaths around the world, just because he, on a whim, thought, I had a feeling Iran would do something. I don't care about your feelings. There was no evidence to that. And
No.
to think about what he has done to all of us now. $4. I don't know where you're at, what kind of prices you have, Marlon, in South Carolina. But here
Oh,
in
I'm in North
Texas,
Carolina.
you're in North Carolina.
I can tell
Okay,
you
you're in
what,
North Carolina.
diesel is
Mhm.
over $5 a
Yes.
gallon. Okay,
Yes.
well over $5. My daughter, Hallie Claire, who we were just talking about, she she has her own car.
Right.
Last week, one day, she called me and she says, "Dad, I'm at the gas station. Do I have to put the mid-range gas in, or can I put just the regular?" And I said, "Honey, you don't have to use premium, but you got to go with the middle grade because basically regular, man, that's lawnmower gas. I mean,
Right.
so I mean, she's got a newer car, so
Yeah. Well, my
she's
car
got to
works
have
on
that.
lawnmower gas, brother.
She's got to have that octane.
Okay.
It's not a sports car, but I mean, look, she could probably put it in and it'll be fine, but it's just the idea that for her to notice.
Right.
She called me back and she said, "You know what? It took $40
on a smaller car."
And this is a little car, like a little sedan.
Yeah.
We put $40 worth of gas in our Hyundai Santa Fe. Barely, didn't even get to a half a tank.
Right. And again,
it's ridiculous.
And the thing about it is this, Marlon, it didn't have to be. This was a self-inflicted wound.
Egberto, I can't. So I got into finance in 1983, in the summer of 1983. The following year is what's known as the tanker wars. This is when Iran and Iraq were at war with each other.
Yes.
Which, there's a history lesson to be done there. The United States, this is crazy. Folks don't probably know this. Most people don't. But at that time, the United States was providing weapons to Saddam Hussein. Well, yeah, both sides.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny to me that we turned on Saddam like we do everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And so what was happening at that time was tankers, I think maybe 200 tankers a day go through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yeah.
It's probably the biggest choke point on the globe as far as, trade routes and that sort of thing. And that was the case in 1984. And I was telling a story yesterday. My first big account, Freedom National Bank in Harlem. I'm not kidding you, dude. Freedom National Bank in Harlem, founded by Jackie Robinson back in the day, was my first really kind of what we would have called a big account back then.
Right.
A bank with, 100 million in assets. That's a credit union down the street now, right? But back then it was a big deal. And because I kind of gave them a heads up on, I won't tell the whole story again, but I gave them a heads up because what was happening every time a tanker would go through the Strait of Hormuz, out of the Persian Gulf into the Strait of Hormuz, they get fired on by Iran.
Right.
And it was, I don't remember anything like a tanker getting blown up, but it doesn't have to totally shut down in order to disrupt the entire global, the whole global economy. And so the idea that was in the 80s, man, the mid 80s, the idea that we got a president and a secretary of defense that's sitting up acting like they didn't know this was going to happen is it's preposterous. Because why do you think nobody else has done this?
Right.
Nobody else is rushing out here to fuck with Iran. Nobody.
It is simply, you have to sit down and wonder. There's Edward Holmes in the chat says, media is focusing on gas prices, not the incompetence and cruelty. Food banks are empty. And you have a point there, Edward. But let me just add to that, right? What Marlon and I have some decisions to make on how one speaks to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because so often people, and you're right, Edward, people would actually talk about gas prices because that's an immediacy. People see it
Well,
right
yeah,
away.
they see that every day.
They see it every day. But beyond that, you're so right that the incompetence is what caused those higher prices. The incompetence and the cruelty is what caused the food banks now to be empty.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, let me answer you in this regards, though, Edward. I think it is important that listeners make those comments so that they can channel the conversation in such a manner that, in addition to bringing to what everybody is seeing in these higher gas prices, that we have the catalyst to talk about the underlying reason these are occurring. So thank you for that comment. And Decadence, welcome. Thank you for being here, Jane B, and everybody else. Thank you for being here on the the Journeyman's Network.
No, man, listen, it's the Journeyman Media Network, but you know what?
Journeyman Media Network.
Yeah, I know. That's why I got that big JMN up there.
Well, you know something, Marlon, you're gonna have to kind of like, Egberto, it's Journeyman Media Network, dude.
You know what? We do not stand on formality. So, but I just want to echo what you said, and I think to a large extent, the traditional media has really, really lost touch with what they think we need to know, or what they think we will be interested in hearing about. And yeah, everybody knows about the gasoline, but the why part of it is the thing that they just don't really get into enough.
And you just said something that I want to kind of, I don't know if this is a pushback or you're just playing with me here.
Well, let's see what you're going to say first. I'm not sure. Then I'll tell you.
Because it seemed to me like you just gave the mainstream media the benefit of the doubt. Because what you said,
if that was the intent, well, no, if that's how it came across, that was not the intent.
Okay, yeah, because
I think they know,
right?
But it's almost like a parent that doesn't want to give you the whole story because they think you can't handle it, or maybe in the case of the media, it's whatever gets the clicks, right?
But let me add the corollary to that, because I think you're still being a bit too kind. And what I mean by that,
it hasn't happened in a while that someone's accused me of being too nice.
Oh God, you're kind, brother. I mean, I don't know why they
haven't. Don't let that get out there, man.
For a long time. That's why we can actually communicate so well. Look, a lot of this has to do with who their masters are and what they are allowed to put on, and to just cloak that in clicks and what they want us to hear, I think is being too kind to them, is what I'm saying, because we need to put that corporate thing on the top, in my humble opinion.
You know what, Egberto? You just gave me a reality check, man.
That's right. That's hey, you came there up with just the right.
You just gave me a reality check. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, look, it's corporate media. Yes. So at the end of the day, you look at the Washington Post, right? And a lot of times when we're talking about this stuff, we frame it as television media. But you look at the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Trump was, his first term, we thought, I mean, it seemed like, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's a good billionaire. He's going to look out. Remember? Do you remember Democracy Dies in Darkness?
Yes.
Isn't that just cute now? I mean, it's he really pulled one on us, so didn't he?
Right? I also used to call Bill Gates the good billionaire, and I'm not even talking about Bill Gates with Epstein. Okay, I'm not even worried about that part yet. But I was schooled. I was schooled to say that and I should have known better, because I remember in the olden days when when PCs were just becoming vogue. I was a member of this stuff called HAL PC, the Houston Area League of PC Owners, or something like that. It was called, right? And all of us used to write software, and we'd exchange software and put software in the public domain. And we were sort of it was a social thing. And each other we would rip off each other's code and use it for our own products and all of that, right? And Bill Gates put a stop to that. Bill Gates came out.
But he stole everybody else's code,
right,
didn't he? To create Windows.
I mean, even the MS-DOS that he's made his fortune after off of by going to IBM was sort of quote unquote stolen from a company in Seattle that he gave $50,000 without letting them know, of course, what he was going to do with it and become a multi-billionaire with that intellect that these people had in MS-DOS. I mean, it was called some other DOS then, and then it was renamed to MS-DOS, and then for PC it was called PC-DOS. Let me tell you. So I mean, when you take a look at it, Marlon, we should expect no less from what he did with the Washington Post. And I don't know if you've seen the editorial page on the Washington Post of how bad it has gotten.
Well, I mean, he basically stopped letting it be an opinion page.
Yes.
I mean, because I think what he said was it's going to be focused on free market capitalism. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, I leave that part for you, man, because
dude, I don't even want to read about that. I mean, because I do not happen to believe in free market capitalism, because I don't think it's I'm sorry, man, don't have a heart attack. No, but ex Wall Street guy does not believe in free market capitalism.
I was supposed to say that. I was supposed to say that part, but I was supposed to say that part because Marlon and I have been speaking for years, right? And I always, for those of you who listen to my program or watch my program, Politics Done Right on Egberto Off the Record, I speak about capitalism and the evils of capitalism all of the time. And I know that my brother here was a stockbroker, analyst. I mean, everything that has to do with the financial system. He was there on the trading desk, right? So I always give him a hard time about capitalism and all of that. So when he comes out and he makes a statement like that, yes, I was holding my heart because it was like, my favorite capitalist is no longer a capitalist. Who do I put my stuff on now?
I'm sorry, but breaking news. I like do that. Not. Okay, let's just put it out here and I'll explain. So the reason I said that is because of the fact that I worked on Wall Street. So I know that, let's just take the financial crisis. So what should happen is this: according to free market capitalism, the businesses that have the stable businesses, the businesses that are competitive, blah 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 blah, they'll survive, and the ones that get in trouble should go by the wayside. That's capitalism, right? Yeah.
That's what they
say,
yeah.
Now on trading desks that I have worked on, the saying is capitalism on the way up, socialism on the way down.
Yep.
And there is no better example of that than what happened during the financial crisis, because banks got saved. Folks who should have probably gone at least to court and possibly to jail did not. And some of it at the time seemed like a good idea, because I think everybody knew it was bad, but if you worked on Wall Street, you were kind of in the room where the problem was happening. I used to sort of indirectly do some business with Lehman Brothers. And, I had a meeting there one day, and there was a run, like a run on a bank. There was a run on Lehman, where folks were saying, sort of not out loud, but everybody knew, if you got any business with Lehman, you better get your money. They're not going to make it through the weekend. And it's really kind of interesting to me how you just think about it. Merrill Lynch, Well, there's no more Merrill Lynch, but it
Right.
didn't fail, right? The only one of the Wall Street. I mean, you had Bear Stearns.
Hmm.
Okay, that was when I knew it was really something bad going on because Bear Stearns used to be like a $200 stock, two hundred
Yeah.
dollars a share, and then we just watched it falling and falling and falling. Now, free market capitalism says, regulatory folks, y'all stay out of the way. They done messed up, and now they're paying the price because that's
Right.
capitalism. And either they'll figure it out, or somebody will come by them, or whatever. Well, no, that's not what happened. The government said we can't let this firm just totally go under. So J.P. Morgan, is who acquired what was Bear Stearns and
Yeah.
let's see,
Bank of
Mer-
America.
Mer- Merrill Lynch. Yeah, for the longest time, it was Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and now it's just Bank of America. So
Yeah.
they absorbed that. So it's almost like one of these things where, all the crooks are still, they're
Yeah.
still out there. They just got different hats on now.
Well, it's funny because all of this can happen because we are fiat. We have a fiat currency.
Correct.
This is a makeup money, made up money, and
No,
we're
all money is essentially made up. It's based
yeah.
on, I mean, anymore, it's trust.
And you know what's so interesting? When you hear Donald Trump is a crude guy, not very smart, right? But
Yeah.
he knows that we are so dependent on the petrol, on having petrol sold in dollars. And if you take a look at the words that he say, right, we're going to take their oil, meaning Venezuela. We're going to take their oil, meaning Iran. I mean,
Hmm.
people look at it as if, oh, what a dope for doing something like that. But what they don't understand is what he's saying is we want to make sure that we control how the Iranian oil is going to be sold, just like they did in '53 with the with MI6 and the
Mossadegh.
CIA taking over when we got rid of Mossadegh. It had to do with so they want control of these large oil producers so that they can make sure that oil continues to be sold in dollars. Otherwise, we fail. And it is hard to believe that nobody is carrying that story. I think I heard you mention something to that effect. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've written about this a couple of
Yes.
times, but see, people don't generally know why it is that global trade operates in dollars.
Right.
And it's not because, they like us. But
Right.
this goes back to right after World War II, and I'm sure you know this history,
Hmm.
Bretton Woods. And basically, that is where I forget 40 some odd countries kind of, came together. I think Bretton Woods is what in like Massachusetts or up, somewhere upstate or up,
Right. Let me look that
on
up.
the
Yeah.
East Coast. But I should know that. But um, and so they basically figured out the monetary framework for the world, the free world anyway. And so primary reason that the dollar ended up being what we call the reserve currency is because we were the only country that was kind of left standing that, was relatively stable at that time. And the idea was that anybody with a dollar, you could trade your paper currency in for gold, like an equivalent
Right.
amount. And that was the backing, right? And then, you fast forward to the 70s. Well, by then America had financed the Korean War and financed
The Vietnam
Vietnam.
War, the
And
recovery of
so,
Europe. Yeah.
yeah. And so we had more dollars than we had gold on hand, like in Fort Knox to
Yeah.
back it up. So Nixon basically said, well, we're just going to go off we're going to free the dollar up to float. And that's how you got currency markets as we kind of know them today. But by then the dollar was pretty well ensconced as the currency, that everything operates in.
And I'll be honest with you. I don't. I think when Nixon did that, it's a lot more insightful than people think, right? Because I always talked about when we talk about the dollar, what is it backed by? Ounce. When Bretton Woods came out, I was just reading, it was $1 was pegged at, I mean, it was a certain amount of dollars pegged at 35,
Ounces of
35
gold or
bucks an
something,
ounce. It
or
was
30,
35
right,
bucks. Yeah,
right.
an ounce of gold at 35 bucks or something like that. But I think it's more insightful than that. In that, look, Marlon, can you eat a piece of gold? You can't.
Yeah, you can.
So I mean,
I wouldn't advise it.
right. So whether it is a piece of gold or a piece of paper that has a full-fledged army behind it and an established system behind it, I honestly don't see the difference. And this is just my engineering mind going forward and saying, I can't eat gold and I can't eat the paper dollar. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference between them. But I know that the paper dollar has an army, nuclear bombs, and everything that represents it, right?
Yeah, it's sort of backed by something a little more dangerous than gold,
exactly.
right? So our friend of the show, Eric Lulove, in the chat said,
I love me some Eric, man. Is he? Eric, how you doing, man?
I just finished talking to Eric, and we talked about everything from the sorry healthcare system to, I think we wound up, we touched on some Epstein stuff. So yeah, we ran the table. But
he just wrote a paper that I asked him to do a program with me because it was a well-written paper on what this war actually means to the healthcare system, the $200 billion, what could be done in the healthcare system. So I don't think we've set that up yet, Eric, but we will. It was a good piece. When you get a chance, check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to read it. I should have asked him about it. But in the chat, he says we're the financial reserve currency, he means, for the world, in caps, period. But then he goes, I think somewhere else he said, if the Saudis decided tomorrow to move their oil to the Chinese yuan,
then the yuan would be.
Well, you know what, though? I kind of want to discuss that a little bit.
Okay.
Because so you have the BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They're sort of a block, and they are, advocate and try to get things to go in their currencies. All of them except for the Chinese yuan, they just don't really have I don't think.
No, they don't.
You can certainly do one-off trades in those currencies, but in terms of being the currency for the world, again, it's not because folks like us. It's because, and so to his comment, I don't think, we would be fucked if everybody went to the yuan, but I don't think that happens even right now. And the reason I say that is because China's their form of government isn't open enough to accommodate the entire world trying to trade in yuan.
Let me push back. I think I think China has been doing a great job around the world establishing relationships.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question.
And I also think that the problem with China and the yuan is China, yuan, and language. It is so, English is still the universal language.
Well, yeah, English is the reserved language.
It's a reserved language
with the reserved currency.
And it is currently, it's not in people's psyche to accept China as that thing. I don't think it has much to do with their economic system or their political system because
I do. Because think about it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just stop. This is why we're doing this show, dude.
Yeah.
Because we're not just, sort of echoing, but here's what I think. Okay. What the dollar has that the yuan doesn't have is behind or adjacent to the dollar is the most liquid market in the world, which is the treasury bond market.
Right.
So when you're buying dollars, you're also buying access to liquidity.
Right.
You see, and China doesn't nobody's close to us in that regard. So yeah, I say dollars, but by dollars, I also mean treasury bills, 30-day, like liquid assets. And so what happens, and I don't think, hey man, I'm a college dropout. What do I know? But I'm saying if you look at what's been happening for the last year and a half, Trump puts tariffs on the world.
Mm-hmm.
That actually hurt the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to figure out how to fix it. Now, this is some diabolical shit that I'm going to suggest, but this is where we're at. Look at all these countries he's attacking. It's almost like he's doing a flex, like don't fuck with the dollar.
Yeah.
Right? He attacks a country, and the reaction is two things. One, oil goes up,
Mm-hmm.
but the dollar also goes up because it's sort of like we used to call it flight to safety.
Flight to
right?
safety. I remember that.
People, when some bad shit happens, folks are like, okay, where am I going to put my money? Because I don't know what's we got this uncertainty. I don't know what's happening. And what they do, if you're in the euro, you're going to be moving a certain amount of that to dollars. And the next step is the bond. That's why the bond market is what everybody looks at. Everybody, not just Americans. They look at the bond market to determine kind of how bad shit is, because the bond market is overall an indicator of risk, right? The longer term bonds assume, they're assuming more risk. And so anyway, it goes on.
And henceforth, one of the things that I am concerned about, you are, of course, more financially aware when it comes to the bonds and all that kind of mechanism than I am. But looking at it from the top, just looking at it from a numerical point of view, and on my part, not how a trader sees it or how an expert in selling stocks and all of that sees it. I mean, you all live in a different world. Okay, and you really, really live in a different world that doesn't necessarily abide by math. Or when I say that, I mean you just said something that made no sense in the real world, right?
Right.
That bonds going up in price as well as oil going up in price, and it's like, wait a minute, that means oil is going up in price doubly, because if we have bonds going up and we have oil going up, what is that saying?
Look, man, I mean, Trump has done some things that are so crazy. We're seeing all kinds of things happen that don't normally happen, like the bond market going up and the stock market going up. That's not,
again, look at that.
That's not right? That's not what we've come to expect, right?
And I can understand when they talk about the stock market going up when the dollar is flailing, because again, that stock's now valued in dollars. You need more dollars to cover the same price. So the stock market can go up in price because the dollar is falling, right? In other words, if I have Exxon at $30 and the value of the dollar starts to fall, then Exxon at $45 may be the same as Exxon at $30 a few years back.
Well, that's the thing. There was a thing floating around a couple of days ago where a couple of economists had written this piece. I think it was in Forbes, maybe. And the upshot was that America is bankrupt and whatever. And it, in a very simplistic way of looking at it, we've got $47 trillion in debt, and then on the other side, I don't know, we got assets of 15 trillion, whatever.
Yeah, actually, we're negative. Yeah, our book is negative. Yeah,
we've kind of been that way for a while, and the difference and I always kind of sort of lose it when I hear people say, if that was a business. And stop right there. It's not a freaking business.
Thank you.
It's not a business.
Thank you.
I hear people saying, well, if I had 50 grand in debt and I only had $10,000 in the bank, I'd be insolvent. Well, yeah, because you can't print your own money.
You don't
print your own money.
Exactly.
So what we have is a situation, not so much that America isn't going to be able to pay its bills. It's at what price?
Right.
Because the way that what we just described gets recognized is in the currency. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that deficits are, that we should have, almost $50 trillion deficit. Of course not. But what it does, I think though, it does cause a situation where, I wrote something about the dollar paradox a few weeks ago, where people, when they see an administration that does ill-advised tariffs that cause all kind of disruption and uncertainty, then on top of that, they're just like snatching presidents out of their country. And then on top of that, they're talking about, bombing poor Cuba, who's just sitting there minding their own business. And then on top of that, they just go and attack, one of the biggest oil producers on the planet. So what that does, let me just finish. What that does is inadvertently, it makes the dollar go up in value short term, but long term, and this goes right back around to what you were saying earlier, it makes the yuan look a whole lot more attractive, because we don't know what the hell America's doing a year from now, 5 years from now. So folks that normally wouldn't have thought about trying to pull a trade off in oil using a different currency, now they do.
Stuff doesn't happen until it happens, right? In other words, when the transition occurs, it's not going to be telegraphed or televised, because the idea is, if it's telegraphed or televised, America would find a way to bomb the country or create some sort of.
So wait, dude, did you just kind of low key say the revolution will not be televised?
Yes, that's what I did.
I'm with you, man. I heard you.
Yes, and that is what I'm concerned about with people who are not seeing that. In other words, China isn't going to say
keep talking.
God. Yeah.
So
China
that tells the story right there.
That tells it there. China is not going to say we are getting. In fact, China has started unloading debt. China was close to $1 trillion in our bonds. They're down to 600 billion now. That's a large loss in position right now. So many people are starting to get out of these bonds. But that said, I think what we have to be very cognizant of, by the way, I wanted to say one thing about BRICS. BRICS is now not just those 5 countries. It is comprised now of about 12 of them. It's still just under the symbols of those 5 countries. And they're getting. So
what other countries are involved?
I think Malaysia, let me look it up as we speak here, but I was just doing some research on that. And it was like, oh my God, it's actually growing. And so I went ahead and did some research. It is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates, and Indonesia. And so there's others that's been added that I do know as well.
So I'll say again, I think, just to kind of put this back up, I think, and this is a very simplistic way to look at it, but it's almost like America's doing a flex to protect the oil, the petrodollar.
Right.
And you look, you just go down the line and you look at all these different escalations, and every time they happen, dollar kind of goes up a little bit. And so I don't know if I'm crazy, but that's what it looks like. If I was sitting on a trading desk, I would be trading on that.
Now, what would you be trading though? Would you be buying dollars?
I would, you know what? I really didn't do a ton in currencies, but there are a lot of other ways, there are ETFs, there's all kind of other mechanisms that you can use. And I'm sure, well, you know what? That brings us to an interesting segue. Let me see if I can pull this off. So, apparently Pete Hegseth was looking to do a trade.
You heard about that.
I'm going to play this because this is just crazy.
Attempted to make a big investment in major defense companies in the weeks leading up to the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. 3 people familiar with the matter tell the Financial Times. Hegseth's broker at Morgan Stanley contacted BlackRock in February about making a multi-million-dollar investment in the asset manager's Defense Industrials Active exchange-traded fund, the people said, shortly before the U.S. launched military action against Tehran. The inquiry on behalf of the high-profile potential client was flagged internally at BlackRock, according to the people familiar with the matter. Think about that one for a second. Try to wrap your brain around that one. U.S. Secretary of Defense, most important thing he'll ever do in his whole life, ordering U.S. troops into harm's way, planning a war. Just takes a little time, reportedly, to try to invest millions of dollars in a defense industry fund on the eve of the war he's overseeing so he can make a fortune on it? A Pentagon spokesman called the story entirely false and fabricated. But the trade request was reportedly serious enough it alarmed people at BlackRock. And though it did not go through, experts note that attempted insider trading is also a crime.
Dude,
Yeah.
dude,
I mean,
I'm telling you, man, I happen to have been in a career that people generally think of as, a bunch of folks, shenanigans and all kinds of. I ain't never heard anything like that, man. The Secretary of Defense is out there trying to get a trade on some shit that he knows he's going to do a month from now or from that time. So I will leave that with you, sir.
well, I mean, I tell you, when I saw that, I hate that I have to tell you, it didn't surprise me, because in addition
Honestly,
to that,
I'm with you. It didn't surprise me. It's just
how sloppy they were, maybe. But I mean, it was so sloppy. It shows that
It's
these
like
guys don't know what they're doing, because it could have been done,
thank God,
so much better.
dude.
than they
There's so
did
many
there.
ways. You don't send your freaking broker to BlackRock. Can y'all hook me up with some defense stocks, dude?
They don't have a lot of
Get
status.
Robin Hood,
Marlon.
man. I mean, what in the hell? What are you doing?
It is
It's-
amazing.
And honestly, I have said this around the house, man. The only thing that's going to save us is they're so bad at this shit. They
But
got the criminal mind. They just don't have the criminal intellect.
What I've been using as a selling point for these guys is these guys are proving why DEI is so important.
Boy,
Because
you
expanding the
had to go
pool,
there.
expanding the pool just means that Hegseth and guys like that who seem to be just in that small pool won't make it. I mean, anytime I watch the level of incompetence and the level of just people who don't know what the hell they're doing, I sit down and say, like, how can these be the guys that are trying to fight DEI? Some, and for those that are listening, I want to tell you, I just want to say, this Eric is talking about short-term oil, short-term though, short-term. I hear
Dude,
you, Eric.
don't do it. Don't do it. We love you, Eric. Don't do that, man. We could be looking, and I'm not just. This is if this war stopped now.
It's
right
still gonna
now.
be up for a while.
They have. This is the equivalent.
He
of-
says April Fool's, man.
Oh, you got me,
You
man.
got
I
us.
was getting ready to text this man and say, Eric, no,
No.
don't do it, because we might have $200 a barrel oil.
Oh God, don't
And
say
even
that.
if
man.
this, I'm listen, man, I'm just telling you. And even if they stop right now, we're gonna have $100 a barrel plus, probably for another year,
I need to start.
unless they do something else oppositely stupid.
I gotta go fundraise for my
I-
trip. We're Politics Done Right is going to Philadelphia to Netroots, and I need to hurry and fundraise for that. I gotta get a ticket before these things are $200 a barrel, dude.
Man, you better get on out there and do it, because I'm telling you, it's so like I said earlier, when I was, just kind of a newbie, and I was in the bond business, and mortgage-backed securities.
Yes.
So another reason to hate me.
Wait. I didn't know you did mortgage-backed securities,
Dude,
too.
that's
You
the
did
first
with
thing I learned.
Credit default swaps and all that.
Well,
good stuff?
no, they hadn't even invented all that stuff.
Oh,
This was in the early '80s. So
Okay.
if you ever read like Liar's Poker.
No, I didn't, but I know about
Well,
it.
but
yeah.
you know the book.
Yeah.
I mean, we were basically buying all our bonds. We're in Little Rock, and we're buying all our bonds from like Solomon Brothers and Kidder Peabody. All these names that don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
But But yeah, man, this is trying to short oil. I'll just give another trait. Do not stand in front of a moving train. That is where we're at right now.
I think Eric is also messing with you. He said,
oh, I know, man, but
he said he was doing SNL swaps. He's trying to age you, man. You remember the SNL crash?
Yeah, he's not trying to age me. Oh, by the way, I took your advice, so I can actually see the chat room now.
So it works. Okay,
yeah, I
good,
see SNL swaps, man. You know what? Why don't you just call me old?
No, we won't do that.
People don't realize that the SNLs back in the day, these guys were doing some crazy stuff too. Yeah. But again, I got 30 years plus of history of seeing crazy shit. These guys take the cake, I'm telling you, just on so many levels, like the level of ignorance and the level of just they don't know what they're doing. They've got jobs they're so unqualified for.
If we weren't so corrupt, right, as a country proper, the leadership of the country wasn't so corrupt as a whole, and these guys just had a little bit more smarts, they would have been going away with the bank, because they're so bold.
They're kind of going away with it anyway, but it could be, dude,
corrected. Reality check.
Worse.
Yeah. Reality check.
Yeah, I need to get like a little pop-up.
Check. How can you name a show and not have the pop-up?
I don't know, man. Marlon. Give me a minute. I'll try to come up with something. But I'm telling you, man, it's look, you got the two. I hate calling them. They're not kids. His sons are out here.
They're adults. They're 40 and 50 years old, man.
These dudes are out here raping and pillaging, y'all. Yeah. I mean. I think they got an interest in a drone company, like right before it. So when Democrats get their heads out of where, and they decide, I think they got the House. Yeah, they got the House. They should have the Senate.
I think they have both.
I think that they do. I think that they do.
And I'm actually thinking they are thinking 51. I'm thinking 53. Okay,
dude, I'll take 51 if that's all we get. But but my thing is, they're worried not about Trump's family, out here raping and pillaging, and you got this ballroom that the judge put the kibosh on yesterday. We don't know where that money's coming from. Yeah. He keeps saying, well, I don't know what the problem is. It's private money. That's the problem. We don't know where that money's. There's no auditing.
Hold on a second. I want to, Eric. I mean, that is something I would really like you to.
Eric's going to make me bring him in this room. I want to hear more about that. So Eric Lulove is saying that internal polling looks like 56 seats. As many as 58.
I mean, that would mean getting two Republicans for
that means
to get some changes, man.
That means Rand Paul.
Yeah, it's gone.
He'll come our way sometime.
Yeah,
I think I don't know who he's running against, but I don't think he loses, because the last time I looked, I think he's running against the same.
No, actually, I don't.
But I don't even know. I don't even know.
I think it's his compatriot that's running.
Right. It's Mitch McConnell. It's his seat. Because he's retiring, right?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, because he needs to. But
beforehand, I feel sorry for Mitch. I'm
just on a human level.
We're human first, but every time they try to throw that guy out there, and he goes catatonic, truly catatonic.
That is
There's something
really
wrong
scary.
with him, and I think they should be shameful. Putting him out
we
there.
went through something similar with Dianne Feinstein, and but I think he's worse though.
Yeah,
and it's like Weekend at Bernie's almost, right? I mean, they're just wheeling this guy out. I saw them taking him to his car in a video clip, and it just, he needs to be at home with his family.
Yeah, I think it is shameful. I mean, there are different ways of aging, and what they need to do is figure out what the hell Bernie Sanders is drinking.
I'm telling you, man, because Bernie.
I love me some. Well, I was a delegate for Bernie in Philadelphia.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was actually a Bernie in Philadelphia, a delegate for Bernie in Philadelphia. I was right out there. I had to try to keep the peace within our not convention, what do you call it? Our group, because it was during the Hillary time, and what they did to Bernie and all of that. And I was trying to play the role of the peacemaker and let's all be together in our delegation. So I, along with others, were trying to keep the friendliness.
That sounds so much like you, man, the peacemaker.
Well, we got to do it. I mean, and it turned out, look, like I said, Hillary is likely the most competent person to run for a presidency that never won. I mean,
no doubt about it.
And I'm not.
I would say that Kamala's probably a strong second.
Exactly. And look, I am not a Kamala or Hillary fan. I voted for both of them, but again, it's surprising, and we're paying a heavy price.
Ooh. Racism is not cheap, is it?
It's not cheap,
and neither is sexism.
Sexism and racism are toxic.
Jeez.
And when we realize that, we'd have a better country. But
yeah,
wow.
Well, it's interesting though that you say that, because you would think that Democrats would really be looking to take advantage of that opportunity, because think of all the stuff we've talked about that Democrats should be shouting from the rooftops. Just all the stuff these got, the corruption, all the stuff. No, but you know what Democrats are concerned with?
Oh Lord.
Yeah. This is a couple of weeks ago.
I'm glad you put that up there. I am so glad you put that up there.
Well, it is really, so I actually consider myself a progressive.
Yeah, you are.
Now, I just look at, I didn't know I was one until,
until you gave capitalism a pass. I know.
Well, look, man, it's just, I had the inside game on capitalism, and I'm not, there are places where capitalism does okay. Denmark, folks are doing all right.
Well,
the Nordic countries, those guys have more of a socialist democratic structure.
Let me point this out, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I think capitalism need to be looked at as a tool,
right?
Not an albeit. And what the problem in America is, we have capitalism here and everything underneath it.
Well,
we need to have humanity here, and capitalism as just a branch, not the core. And when we get there, that is when we can start talking about having a real equitable society.
Yeah, I agree. This really is illustrative to me, and this was in I think it was Axios. Okay. But look at this. So this guy, John Cowan, blasted other liberal heroes aside from and just look at the talking points: out of touch teachers unions, language police. They're doing the Republicans' work for them. Yeah. Right. And they're bringing in the people.
Is this new?
No, this happened earlier this month. They had a big conference, and I'm trying to remember. So yeah, it was in Axios, and I have the article off, and so basically it says this. This was in Charleston. The story came out, I believe, the 1st of March, and it says moderate Democrats are on a mission to stop the next Bernie Sanders, starting with New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it's Third Way that's behind this.
They're a piece of work.
So, well, these guys, I think when Zoran Mamdani won, it has scared the bejesus out of these guys. And what they have to understand is, and this is just my view, that even the people, and I actually saw a survey a couple of days ago, where they said that even Democrat people who identify as moderate Democrats, when you get down below the surface, they're really progressive.
Yes.
Look, man, I don't know how we have allowed ourselves to be, bamboozled into like the idea of, healthcare for people and folks being able to get paid a legitimate, a living wage. That is now what is being called far left.
Let me tell you, Mr. Weems, That's what I cover almost on a daily basis. And let me just tell you this. There's this document called the Powell Memo.
Mm-hmm.
When the Powell Memo was released, it was released, believe it or not, by a Democrat, Lewis Powell, who eventually became a Supreme Court justice. That paper was released to say, and I'm paraphrasing, Americans are becoming more progressive. They're becoming more intelligent. We have to infiltrate the media, the churches, the schools, and the books.
Mm-hmm.
That was the goal of the Powell Memo. Just look it up on your free time. Powell Memorandum or Powell Memo. I have it. I have the full text on my website, egbertowillies.com as well. But let me tell you something, brother. It is indoctrination works, and it works with all of us. It works with me, right? I mean, none of us are immune to it. We have to understand when we're getting caught by it, and then adjust ourselves to put up that wall that's against it. A quick little story, because there is a particular young lady that was running for to be the chair of the party in our county. And I liked her. She's very, very smart, etc. But I actually supported the establishment kind of guy, because I thought that's the one that could bring in money and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I'm talking about indoctrination and that anybody can fall, this is almost my mea culpa. And then this woman, she's about my daughter's age or a little bit older. And when I spoke to her directly and said, "Oh, you're so smart. Why don't you do it the next time?" and so forth, etc. And I felt kind of bad after I left that, because I said I would not want anybody to tell my daughter to drop her dreams, even though I thought in this case I was doing the right thing. I wasn't. Okay. But let me tell you what made me so proud of this woman. This woman smile was cordial and all of that, disregarded what I said, and likely disregarded it from everybody else, disregarded it from all the attacks that she got. She went and she ran, and she won the chairmanship in a landslide.
How about that?
67 to 33.
Wow.
I called her up, and I said, the first thing I did is I kind of apologized, and I said, "Man, was I wrong?" And then I said, "I'd like to talk to you because I want to know how you did it." Because with all the headwinds that you had, with people, the people in the party, bad talking you, the people, all this kind of stuff that went on, she went through, she kept her head straight, and she did it.
She persevered.
She persevered.
Wow.
And
well, man, if it makes you feel better, I have a mea culpa too. I voted for Reagan one time.
Oh, you need a big mea culpa, dude.
I was indoctrinated, man. I didn't know what I was doing.
No, I mean,
look, I was, so what are we talking about? 84, I guess?
Yeah, no, 79. Oh, you're talking about the second time.
I'm talking about the second time. I didn't vote for him the first time.
Okay.
I voted for Jimmy Carter because Jimmy Carter was my first presidential vote.
Yeah.
But by the second time that Reagan ran, he came to Little Rock, because of the place that I worked. We kind of had the inside getting into and I think like a lot of people, it was the business I was in. I thought it would be good for business, so that was my perceived self-interest at the time. And I don't tell many people that. And I should have probably looked to see how many folks were in this room before I commit. Before I commit. But I'm just keeping it real, man.
I am gonna stop you. This is reality check, man. This is reality check. I'm gonna tell you something. People respect somebody who can come and say, "This is what I did. I did
messed
wrong,
up, man.
and then I atoned." It is like what I told the young lady. I said, I am so glad that, this woman didn't use, and a lot of our women, men, and so forth, they go through that. You get that negative vibe, and you go ahead and you act on that negative vibe. It was great. This woman told me by how she operated and continued to operate, it tells me that she even had more stature than
you realized, huh?
Than I realized. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, just, to show you what I know, I come home from work with this when we were, I was still up in New York, and Shannon says, there's this guy. He's got kind of a funny name. It's Obama something. I think he might do something. And I looked, I got on the line. I hadn't heard of the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, girl, ain't nobody voting for a dude who got Hussein in his middle name. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Again. Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know what I'm
Hey, let me
talking
tell you,
about.
it's time. It's our time. But before we go, I want to tell a story, Obama's story. When Obama and Hillary were running, I was originally a Hillary supporter before I switched to Obama midstream.
Okay.
And one of the things that I thought is that Obama couldn't win either. And there was there's a thing that canvassers that went out to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And when they were out there in Pittsburgh, the canvasser went to a family's home. And the woman was on the couch on the front door. And she said, and he said, ma'am, who are you voting for as he's canvassing? And the woman, I don't know why she thought she had to turn to her husband, but she turned to her husband and said, honey, who are we voting for? And the husband shouted out, tell them we are voting for the N-word guy. The N-word guy.
Okay. Well,
when I heard that, I said, Obama is winning this election.
Yeah, that dude's winning.
Because that person's personal economy overcame their racism,
didn't it?
And when you cross that thing, where
the Rubicon, right?
Yeah. When you cross that, there ain't no coming back. And I knew the guy was going to win.
So wait.
Yeah.
Did you say once you go black, you'll never come back? Is that what you just said?
No,
it sounded a whole lot like you said that, man.
I mean, not say
maybe
that.
It's my headphones, but
it's your headphones.
It's my sad ex-trader takeaway. I will always
get us out of your network, Marlon. Dude, it's time, Marlon. You need to get us out of your network, man.
Okay, look, folks. We're running over time, but this was our maiden voyage, so you'll have to give us a little bit of grace there. But midweek, every Wednesday at noon, this is where you need to be, with my friend Egberto Willies and myself, and this is the reality check. And I will say this on the way out, my daughter's working on an intro for us. I thought she'd have it ready, but she's got her own. She's a star in her own right. She actually was doing a show when I was doing one this morning. So, my competition is right down the hall, man. I got to keep her.
Don't forget, Marlon, that you've established a new network of folks that you probably.
That is. I should mention that on the way out. So if you notice the JMN, that is the Journeyman Media Network, and so that is a collective of. I think, great independent journalists. Sherry Dunn, who's a former attorney, she's actually more qualified to be running CBS News than Barry Weiss is. Mm-hmm. She came out of that, space. Allison Wiltz, Dr. Allison Wiltz, who, Egberto and I know from our days when we were writers on Medium, and then Zuri Stevens, and then last but not least, Arturo Dominguez, who I do a show with on Thursdays. So what we're trying to do is basically think of it as I guess you could say an online newsroom, so to speak. And so we're still in the early stages. It's early days. We made the announcement 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're up to some stuff. And I think this is probably part of that. Trying to put out some consistent content and bring in great voices like my man Egberto.
Well, look, man, it's an honor to do this with you here on Reality Check. Love it, and love you, brother, and thank you for what you do.
Hey, back at you, folks. We will see you on the Reality Check next Wednesday at noon Eastern. So be there. Take care.